So let me start this episode off by naming a few things for you. YouTube Shorts, Reels, Instagram TV, when that was a thing, cave drawings, the paintings on the stained glass windows of churches. And you may really ask yourself, you may even want to ask me tomorrow, where's the relevance? What do all these have in common? Well, they are all forms of presentations. And when it gets to be a thing of disseminating information for generations on generations, they become a form of presentation management. Think to yourself, have you ever given a presentation that you felt was just boring, or you just did it because you had to for a grade or just to get that degree to pass that elective? Have you ever sat through some presentations that were basically snooze fests and you really couldn't make it through? Well, what can change about all of this? Well, James and the team over at Shufflrr are really here to make things as easy as possible for you, here to weed through all the nonsense and really here to cut out all the noise. But what exactly does Shufflrr do? Don't take my word for it. Be sure to check out their website. Be sure to check out the content. But most importantly, be sure to check out this episode. And in this episode, he drops a big bomb that is now available on Kindle, that is now available on Amazon. So I would not take that lightly. But ultimately, James is here just to make things easier for you, your brand, your company, and then even the information that you may have in a database, really here to fine tune that and really here to give you the most up to date and what'll make the most sense, what'll translate the best, and what'll make you ultimately the most money. So without further ado, enjoy episode 138, Work Smart, Not Hard.
Right. Well, I'd just like to welcome everybody back to another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner. Look, Q1 is over. We're moving, we're grinding, we're making it happen. I'm actually very excited I have some news coming for y'all. I can't necessarily disclose everything, but just keep in mind that we are making our way up north. We are taking things back home a little bit. So for all my Philly people, for all my New York people, New Jersey people, definitely pay attention. Just pay attention. Turn the post notifications on, whatever you have to do. But essentially, a big announcement is coming. I think y'all will definitely enjoy this. And not to slight my North Carolina people, we showed a lot of love to y'all last year. But we gotta touch different spaces and see different faces. But nonetheless, very excited to be sitting down with James today, another fellow podcaster. If you cannot tell by the setup and the background alone, but somebody who he has a lot of value. He has some things that are already out. He has some things that I'm pretty sure are up and coming, and I'm pretty sure he just has a lot of information, a lot of wisdom to impart on those, and even just some interesting content that you guys may want to see, because I was very intrigued by the content when the page gave me a follow. So before we get into all things podcasting and what he does, James, how you doing today? How you feeling?
Tomorrow, I'm doing all right. It's comfortable afternoon here. I got it in Tampa.
Okay. I would have to agree with you. Oh, and for the people who don't know, we're actually right across the street from each other. That's just, that's just how lazy we were. It's like I kind of knew that, but I didn't know that. But yes, definitely a nice day here in Tampa, and essentially two creatives very close by. So, James, I know tapping into this episode, I know we're going to have people from your side of things. I know we're going to have people from my side of things. And essentially, I know we're going to have some people that come in between and may not know either one of us. But for everyone, to put everybody on the same page, to just make sure we're all here, can you, one, just tell us a little bit about yourself? And then can you, two, just tell us what brings you on the Down to Business podcast today?
Yeah, so my name's James Entre. I've been in the tech space for 30 years now. I've done some specialized in presentations, had a high-end consultancy doing work for some of the best storytellers in the world. You can see behind, from Warner Brothers and Paramount and NBC and ABC. And these storytellers turn to my software and my company to help tell their story when they were selling advertising. It's great business, did well. Technology ran right past our stuff and democratized video. And we took the principles that were taught to us and developed a company called Shufflrr. Shufflrr is presentation management, and we manage slide libraries for Salesforces and big companies so that everyone can assemble presentations quickly and know that they're approved and up to date and they look good, and then the business has intelligence of who said what, whom, when, and where. So I'm CEO of Shufflrr Presentation Management.
I love that. As somebody who has given a plethora of presentations across his life, I can definitely see how this could have been of some use. But even moving forward, I definitely think this is something that we could adopt. So, okay, the word presentation, I feel like it can be an umbrella term. We can be talking about, like you said, Warner Brothers, ABC, these big time, presentations.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can be talking about presentations that I give at work for being on different committees. We could be talking about high school, college. So would you say that Shufflrr focuses on one specific niche, one specific, area? Are you guys really inclusive of everyone?
Well, we're more we're more for an enterprise type system. If you were to, if you go back and think someone writes a book and on the front of the book, they have a table of contents. And that makes it very easy for someone to pick up the book quickly and zoom into page 85 to get the content they need. You can't expect them to absorb the whole book. You can get right through it. So what we've done is in the same methodology, made a library of slides about your company, who you are, what you do, how you do it. The history of the company has 5 slides, the founding. There's slides for all the executives. There's the European office while the Florida plant is included in it, and you've got 18 slides. But when they're all organized in a library where you can just pick your slides and put them into the slide tray and hit save, in 5 or 6 minutes, you have 90% of your corporate presentation ready to go. Now, to your question, it's majority sales groups who use our tool, and it integrates with sales enablement and CRM components like that. However, onboarding anyone who has a big organization that has a lot of presentations being done on their behalf, this speeds time and gives consistency of message and brand across a global organization in no time.
I was about to say something that I kind of picked up on from the very beginning is time, working smarter, not harder, in a sense. So, okay, the fact that, so what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong when I say this, is that you guys pretty much do, well, one, you do the bulk of the work. I understand that. But two, you're the ones doing all the research. You're the ones getting all the, are companies supplying this to you and you're just putting it together?
No, actually, we are a SaaS platform. And yes, we help organize the slides and bring it through. We kind of, it's like a 3-step process to doing this because presentations are everywhere. They're on your email, they're on your Google Drive, they're on your K Drive, they're on a thumb drive, they're in Prezi, they're this. So what we do is basically take your last 6 months or your best 20, 30 presentations and bring them all into one folder. Put videos in there. Videos are nothing more than a slide. Put images in there. Put things in there that tell your marketing message. Once you put them all together, then you start looking through and you start weeding through the bullshit. You start getting rid of duplicates of bio pages. This has got your small logo while this one's got the appropriate one and this has the old colors. Let's wipe out the garbage and make it consistent. So if someone pulls a slide from your European office versus your executive group versus the history of the company versus a pricing, it looks consistent. Once you've done that, you kind of shuffle them and put them in order in that table of contents like fashion. And now you have a publishing tool for presentations. And that's what Shufflrr is. And once you've gotten your content in it, then every file's formatted to present. And when every file's formatted to present, you can instantly repurpose it and make a new slideshow.
Wow. I like that. And I could definitely see how just in working at WeWork and working with a plethora of sales companies, I already know kind of what they're doing, what they're looking for, how they're always changing, how they're always moving, but how, like you said, it can weed through just a lot of that nonsense. Because
that's right.
We've all sat through presentations where it's just like, wow, this could have been simplified so much. This could have been an email. This could have been a phone call. This could have taken 5 minutes, but essentially,
or it's got old information, or pricing's wrong, or the old logo, or the didn't have disclaimer statement, or whatever it is. I mean, like for an organization like WeWork, you've got buildings all around the globe. If you had one library that had a slide on every single building, you could instantly call together a presentation of, oh, you're considering Hong Kong? We have 2 offices. Boom, 2 slides on it. And then, because not only do you have a slide on Hong Kong, the manager of the Hong Kong office also has an 8-slide presentation that says amenities, sizes, space, rooms, restaurants, which if I decide I'm thinking, wow, Hong Kong's it for me, tell me more. Well, you have slides for that. Suddenly the presentation is following the conversation, not forcing the conversation. If I had a presentation for you today and I was ready to go, you might start speaking about something slightly different. And if I was so damn smart that I knew everything we were going to talk about today, I probably wouldn't need to talk to you today. but you know what I mean? Like, and presentations are preordained ending points. And I'm not that smart, but if I can get to conversation and you say, gee whiz, Hong Kong's great, but I want to go to Singapore. I wasn't thinking about it, but hey, the Singapore WeWork building, there's an office, there's a slideshow on it. Let me pull to slide 3. You have 60 people. Look at that. We have, a whole floor available for that would suit that, with conference room, kitchen, as well as Starbucks on the whatever. I'm making this up, but and you have a library of slides based on the buildings and the information and everything that goes on in with it. If that makes sense. And marketing maintains it, or specific department heads maintain their section of the content. So it's like always published out there. And as time goes by, your big company will say, oh my God, 7,000 people have used the history of WeWork in their presentation. And gee whiz, only 600 people use the benefits, and they turn to sell more than the people who talk about the history. Let's get everyone talking about the benefits. Now your communication message is going to the same horizon. It's pushing, it's getting more defined. Here, I'll take a big picture approach. Should I go back to the beginning at cave drawings?
Let's do it. Come on.
Think about it, and I wasn't there at the time, but cave drawings were the elders standing in front of something, telling the younger people, teaching them lessons about how they're going to hunt and stuff. And as the youngers grew up, they looked at that same cave writing on the wall and explained it to theirs. That's a form of presentation management. They created a presentation and they managed the use of it to make it go through that way. Very impressive. If you look at the Parthenon chiseled in the wall, there's a presentation of what's going on. If you've been in any place of worship, there are stained glass windows, which are slides, which are no different than illuminated backgrounds of information that teaches you what goes on. The first one tells story 1, the second one story 2, the next one story 3, and by the time the illiterate masses get to story 10, they are indoctrinated into their religion or whatever. They understand it. They communicated that type of stuff. When universities were built, you've been to a university, I assume. Every lecture hall is built around what? Presentations. Whether it's the guy standing there or writing on the board or a projector. I can keep on going, but these are forms of communication that have been used through all the years in the world. And they've never been managed presentations. Let's go to David Ogilvy. Do you know who he is? He is the founder of the world of advertising. Basically, in the mid 20th century, he convinced the corporate world that if you gave him all of your sales, marketing, advertising dollars, you'll get better creative, better placement, better marketing, and in turn, you sell more widgets. We created Ogilvy Mather. He's the grandfather of the whole thing. And he developed systems for TV, radio, print, billboards, eventually the web. 5 mediums of communication. For TV, let's say, they found a strategy that if they, let's see, what's a good strategy? The Super Bowl, 15 seconds, you get a Hollywood star, exotic location, great director, make it quirky and funny. 15 seconds is now worth $5 million, whatever it is. They've done it 58 years in a row. They're going to do it another 50 years if they can and get it to 100 million. TV, the same thing, print, radio. But there's no strategy for presentations. There's no strategy. It's every person for themselves. Tell me what you did last summer. Give me that presentation where everyone clapped on slide 3. I want to use that one. And you're by yourself getting a message out for a global, billion-dollar company. And when I'm belly to belly sitting to you giving a presentation, I got to tell you, my credibility is a hell of a lot more than that ad they saw in the Super Bowl. And if you didn't really believe the Super Bowl ad, but you believe me in my presentation, you might buy my product because I am right there with you. Presentations are actually the bottom of the sales funnel. After all the advertising, marketing, references, and everything, I'm sitting next to you telling you why you're buying my products. You either buy my stuff or you don't. Presentation usually supports it. So Shufflrr, my company, I've spent my life doing presentations. I've written a book on the presentation management subject. Got a new one Presentation hell. It's what I've lived through. This is literally, I just got it in my hands today, so doesn't go on sale on Amazon for a week or two. But if that's a little background, I think I'm talking too much here.
No, honestly, that's what we needed though. Like you said, really just going back. But essentially a lot of what I got from that answer is that presentations are really all around us. It's just a matter of how we look at it. Like you said, I didn't even really think about the church, the drawings, the kid. But these are things that when you really look at it, these are things that have been passed down from generation to generation
That's
to
right.
generation and have been explained in certain type of ways. Yes, the moral or the overall understanding of the story or the concept or whatever it is you're trying to teach may have remained the same, but me explaining something is going to be totally different than you explaining something versus somebody else explaining something versus, we can all get to the same point essentially, but how we word it, the examples that we use, what we include will be totally different. So I guess one of my biggest questions to you too now, at what point did you realize like, hey, we're doing presentations all wrong? Like there are different ways to go about this because ultimately, like you said, even the book title, even what you kind of talked about now a few times, I've heard you say it, presentation management. And it's not to necessarily say that just away with presentations, out with that, we're done with that. It's more so, no, let's work a little bit smarter. Let's, like you said, eliminate the nonsense that doesn't need to be there. Update the information that needs to be updated. Do this, do that. So at what point did you really take a step back and say, no, there has to be a better way to, because like you said, you've given a countless amount of presentations. So where did you finally put your foot down and really realize, no, there has to be a different way to do this?
Well, YouTube had a lot to do with it. I thought I was king of the world. I had great clients doing great work, good money, been in Manhattan, raised my family, the whole 9 yards. And about a little more than a decade ago, almost 15 years ago, I was in ABC television, O&O TV station sales. They were our client. And a salesperson tossed a DVD onto the conference table. It was in plastic and it went ting, 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 and bounced. And he said, "My grandmother made a better DVD for our family picnic than our sales presentation." My heart sunk. The software was called Entra software was suddenly valueless, and what used to be, $50,000 for a 30-second animation that gets cranked out once a month for different clients suddenly was packaged in every PC and for free on YouTube. But it was a big change in my business structure, clients, and it changed a lot that went in there. So what we did, and I'm partnered with my sister in the business, Alexandra, we took a step back and we looked at the principles by which our clients were selling their message, and they were constructing their message like it was a table of contents for their business, whether it's by who we are, what we do, how we do it, business units, products and services, case studies, the schedule, whatever the company's built, however it's structured. That created a structured library. We call it structured storytelling. And if you place your presentations, whether they're in PowerPoint or a video overview of your company that goes into the who we are, the detailed technical specs of one of your products or whatever, that might have a 20-slide presentation as support, and it might have a marketing manager that's responsible for that section. But the key was, if I took your company and made a 450 slide presentation of everything you do, no one's ever going to start from the beginning to end and listen to it. However, if I have all 450 slides broken into different chapters and categories, I can easily go in and say, oh, we're going to talk about the history. We're going to talk about the London office. We're going to talk about our paint spray package. We're going to talk about this pricing. We're going to talk about the history. And I'm going to do the closing page, and I'm going to do the overview video. And I'm going to type in a page that says, welcome, Dr. Schwartz, as an agenda page, and hit save. How long does it take to make presentations? It takes hours nowadays. Have you ever copied and pasted, hunted and pecked, tried to get here and there to get everything done? Imagine picking items out of your Amazon cart, putting 10 in the thing, and having a 10-slide presentation and being 90% there. It looks good already. It's got the right logo. And if it doesn't, it's marketing's fault. It's not yours. And that eases the friction between sales and marketing. Marketing does their job. If they did their job and the sales guy calls it at Sunday night saying, if I don't have it by tomorrow morning, we're going to lose the big contract. If marketing did their job, there is nothing like that. And if they didn't, it's just a package that way. So Shufflrr is presentation management. Our software supports it. There's a strategy behind the communications of presentations. And when done on an enterprise level for your company, we have very big companies using it right now. It will increase the communication. It will synthesize knowledge and education in your company, because if someone brings up a slide that was just, you bought a new company and there's a presentation on it on the synergies, why it's good, what support, and it gets published to the library, I'm in front of my client in Los Angeles, that slide's there to support me. I might not be an expert on the deal, but if I have to put up the slide and talk to my client, by the time I walk out, I'm an expert on the deal, because there's nothing will teach you better than being put on the spot for something like that. And in turn, it trains your entire organization to speak, kind of sing off the same sheet of slides. Singing off the same sheet of music creates harmony. Singing off the same sheet of slides gives a consistent brand, consistent message, and lets your clients know exactly who you are.
Okay. You
that
haven't
makes
really
sense.
to me, like I said, you haven't said anything to me that doesn't make sense. It really all follows, it really all follows one step after the other. So okay, I'm thinking about different industries, different niches, different needs. Okay, for instance, if you needed, PR, you go search for somebody in public relations, publicists, marketing, anything like that. It can go on and go on and go on. When it comes to presentation management specifically, what are people searching for? What are people looking for to find Shufflrr, to find these services, to find? Are you guys?
It's still nascent. There's 5 or 6 companies kind of breaking into the space. No one really has it owned yet. In a way, it's content management for presentations. I think the value equation is just being learned. People don't really know about it. That's why we took time back to write a book. Actually, I'll give a reasonable announcement today. We have a plugin for PowerPoint that is basically a Chat GPT plugin for PowerPoint. So right inside of PowerPoint, ask Chat GPT the question. It will spit you out 3, 5, 15 slides on whatever you're talking about. The best tasting pizza in New York City. It'll give you 8 slides and you'll be underway. The trajectory of dandelions as they go through the summer breeze and pollinating other fields. You'll have 15 slides on it. It'll get better, but it's really nice. You're well on your way. You can then edit it and make the points relevant for you, but built right into PowerPoint. It's called Shufflrr for Windows, PowerPoint Chat GPT plugin for PowerPoint. It is awesome. And it's available for free, by the way. So it also includes all the Shufflrr components on the back end, and you can shuffle slides and do all those things. There's a lot more to it, but ChatGPT for PowerPoint plugin, Shufflrr for Windows. Be available probably by the time people are listening to this.
All right. I like that. And I think you raised a lot of eyebrows once you said that F word. People love free. So that's very interesting.
That's not the F word I use all the time, but that's the one we're using today.
That's the one we'll keep it for today. But no, it's so interesting how this particular plugin has become so populated in just a very short amount of time. I've seen people. I was talking to a group chat of my boys from back home. And they were telling me how they use this for resumes, cover letters, proposals, business. And I was just like, wow, something that we're really moving into that automated, into just making things simpler, and to just rapid fire, and to just very fast. But I think what's kept it so relevant is how up to date it is. It's nothing like doing a search. You're going through pages and pages of information. This stuff out of date. Articles were published years ago. There's no credibility really to that. And like you said, sometimes people lose credibility when you're trying to go through all of that when you have somebody right in front of you, or when you have a presentation being given right then and there. I love that. So before we get into the book, because I'm very interested in that, you think about James back then. You think about all the presentations that you had to sit through, that you had to give, that you had to assist with, everything of the sort. When thinking about technology back then, when thinking about the MO and just the method of how things were run and being given and understood, did you ever really picture us living in a time like this, living in such a world where, or a time where technology is literally at the forefront of everything that we do? You can't really, it's everywhere. It's all in front of me. It's around us. You're not, whenever you want to know something, or I feel like whenever you need some information or you want to just go to something, it's quick to just hear or open up a laptop or anything like that. When you think about what it used to be, how presentations used to be given, how things, how information was sought after, how things were
Mm-hmm.
even published. Did you really see this transformation coming? Would you even go to say that it's not done, that we're really merely just scratching the surface, that there's so much
We're at the
more?
very beginning here. Humankind is 20,000 years. I'm not a young guy, but when, like, I saw the computer be invented, Steve Jobs as a kid, I witnessed that. I was, I'm not as young as everyone else on the phone, which is okay. I might look it, by the way,
You do.
just to let you know, it comes from right here, and I'm not talking about my logo. I'm talking about my heart. But for me, I've always been in technology and has been pushing it, so I've seen it. I never would have imagined it's come this far, this fast, this incredible. I can tell you, the day my first child was born, my discussion with my wife was, let's use the digital camera. No, we can't verify that it's going to work for sure. So I actually took pictures with film and a digital camera. Those were the last film shots we took.
People don't know about the Kodak that you had to wind after each shot, and if you didn't get that flash right, yeah, it was very interesting when you went to the Rite Aid or your CVS to go print your
Well, it's
photo.
different. You dropped film. It was actual chemical process.
Well,
You waited 2 weeks
so
to get pictures.
you're even going back. Yeah, I've only seen that in like my Criminal Minds or like my CSIs and things like
Jesus
that, seeing
Christ.
them under the red lights and stuff. That's interesting.
I
Okay.
produced hundreds of photo shoots in 1980s and 90s for a calendar called Houston's Hottest. I published pinup calendars to pay for college. And we used real film, 2.5-inch film with big camera, everything set up. There's no Photoshop. It's perfect. It's right. Every shot cost more than $1 a piece every time you touched the button, and you didn't get it back for like a week ahead of time. And like back then, $1 actually got you a sandwich. So like the whole value equation of what's gone on and the expertise that people have become with communicating with images is just amazing. If you think about it, and I'll bring this to presentations, I'll give you a strategy on it right here. The way our strategy for presentation is, the very first slide should be emotional. Every other slide after that is logic. If I get you emotionally making a choice, I want to feed this hungry girl, the stats I give you after that page, you're going to use to reinforce, yeah, she deserves it. It's less than a cup of coffee every day. You can pay that. That's not a lot of money. She's going to be fed. On the same note, if you looked at that hungry girl and you said, she deserves to be hungry, you'll look at the stats going underneath. You'd say, I need that cup of coffee. Why does she deserve it? What you will use the same logic and reasoning to reinforce it. So what I'm saying is, and this is advice for everyone out there, if you're doing a presentation, put a meme up on the very first slide. Something people can talk about, something people that gets them questioning, is it right or wrong? Then follow into your logic and reason of what's going on. And you will get a much better sale, better understanding. People will be committed to it because they took an emotional stand on the first slide. Therefore, they had to reinforce it.
And I'm going to agree with that, but I'm also going to call to action people who just hearing that, just listen to what he just said. So I'm, as you were saying that, I was thinking about some of my like all time, just like, wow, I sit back and think like, wow, that was a great presentation, whether it was a TED talk I watched, whether it was something on YouTube, or whether it was something I saw face to face. And across all those presentations that I'm really recalling as I'm looking around, none of them dove straight into information. it was always something that you could resonate with or relate to, or something that you tap somebody next to you like, hey, look at that. Or if it was a laugh or just something that made you think, maybe even a question, maybe even just a picture. So, wow, I didn't even really think about that. How when you get, you appeal to that in the very beginning, it changes the total trajectory. Whereas if somebody just hit you with straight just information overload, and it's just like, because I think about on the backside, I think about presentations that I sat through, and it was just you literally read this right from the slide,
Mm-hmm.
or you literally just copy and pasted this, or I could have done, and it's just like you lose me after a while. You pull out the phone, or you start talking about other things. That's a very interesting
Well,
concept.
you're not emotionally sold in. You haven't made a decision within yourself as to what's going on with that. Um, Basically, like here's an example. Early in my career, in the doing presentations, we were helping NBC sell their Olympic advertising. They had spent, I think, $3.5 billion for 10 years of the Olympics. Sounds cheap nowadays, I know, but back then that was the cut. No one could believe it.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what's the difference between $100 million commitment and a $500 million commitment? And they're like, well, it's the Olympics. It's special. It's unique. But the bottom line is, so many people watch it. There's X number of thousand people watching by $40 a head. You can do an invoice. You can calculate it. And he said, you know what we do? We give them the Muhammad Ali video. We start the meeting with Muhammad Ali walking up to light it, and with Parkinson's shaking. This is the greatest boxer athlete of the past generation, shaking and giving all of his might to do it. And he lights it. Everyone's hair stands up on the back of their neck. Suddenly, it's a cultural element. You've changed the whole meeting. Now I can go in and tell you about the numbers, and that dwarfs the numbers. We're sponsoring the Olympics. I'm not reaching just 80 million people. Those I can do that math, but this is 80 million people times 10. The value equation's up, and that's like the weight of the emotion grabbing you in the very beginning that changes the whole thing. I mean, one of the other ones they used was Carrie Strug, the young lady who ran with a broken ankle and did the flip and landed, and she went and did it again. If once you watch that, you're like, everything changes.
That's wow. Yeah. The emotional appeal, the emotional element with anything, even in books. I'm thinking about everything like that I've done.
It's storytelling.
Through. Yeah, literally. Like that's really
You're
what it is.
helping people become a better storyteller. Once you have a structured library like we discuss in the book and Shufflrr makes for them, once that's actually made, now you can spend time teaching people to tell stories better. Everyone's going to tell better stories about your company. And if you're a better storyteller, and all of your salespeople, all your marketing people, all your training people, if they're better storytellers, people are going to suck it in better. And the best story ever told is ultimately viral. Someone retells it. I heard it this morning and I retold it tonight. And that's the natural like those are the best stories of the world that have been handed down through generations. That's the core of what viral is. We just have technology to make something viral with a lazy click. And a billion people do it. That actually took thought and memory and animation and communication. And am I talking to a child and an old person and my mom at the same time? What the hell's going on?
Absolutely. That's a great point. So along the lines of storytelling, this book now, Presentation Hell. So what I'm gonna ask honestly all the H's. What, why, where, when, like what really, when did you say, I know all this information, I have all of this experience, I've gone through all of this trial and error, pass, fail, success, different things like that. When did a book come into the mix? How did you go from kind of, being the CEO of a company, being able to, to manage presentations, to automate things in a bit, to make life easier for not only just individuals, but companies, to then saying, well, let me get into the book aspects of things. Let me become, published and all that thing. Because obviously just from the title myself, I'm going to take it as, this book gives you a little bit of everything. It goes from the beginning. It goes to things that we didn't think about. It goes to experiences that you've had. It goes to how to get better. But ultimately, I know that you've also touched on a lot of elements, a lot of just different gems that you even gave us here, just thinking about the emotional aspect of things. So where really did this idea for putting everything that you amassed into a book, where did that really start? Where did that come from?
Well, I think it comes from having a fairly long career, that you get to a certain point that you want to share the knowledge that you've gained. You want to be able to cull it together in one place. I've been through presentations up and down the line with all sorts of technology. I've seen the pain of things not working. I've seen the success of stuff working. I've watched technology grow, and ultimately it boils down to storytelling and entertaining. Can you capture your audience? Can you communicate them well enough? We use anecdotes that actually happened in life that tell the meaning of the difference between a linear presentation, a predefined, I'm going from A to Z and we're all going down this road, and don't you ask a question on slide 3 because that's talked about in slide 10. We conquered that and made presentations follow the conversation, not force the conversation. And when they get that way, I'm having a conversation with you and I can reinforce it with a slide about what we're talking about. It creates structure that way. So what the book is all about, which is Presentation Hell, there starts with a couple of anecdotes and things where the world fell apart because a presentation. Is very clear that it did, and they, do it right. And everyone has, they say presentation, giving public speaking is one of the most feared things out there. But if you're confident in what's supporting you, it's no longer a fear. And we found an actual system to support every one of your people so that they can focus on their audience, not the fear of speaking. And if you create that structure, it's through structured storytelling, it's through making a library of slides that are published and making them available. Your people that are presenting on your behalf spend time thinking about how they're communicating, not should it be if or the or of, and should it be a blue font or a black font? It looks better in white on the black screen. They shouldn't be spending time doing that. You have a marketing group. You have people that are experts on that. You should give them the tools they need and let them edit it a little bit if you want to. They make their own bullet points. We support the Girl Scouts. We'll be at the event on Thursday afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Schwartz. Those are all unique for each meeting. You never know. And you give the tools to do that. But the key is no more wasted time. And we help you through that, the wasted time. And there's more than just time on the salesperson or the person on the front end doing it. Think about in a legal situation, a lot of our clients are banks, are pharmaceutical companies. Slides have to be approved ahead of time. So if a banker wants to do a presentation on wealth management, when he or she's got it ready, he has to submit it to legal, who then takes an hour to review it, who then makes a note and submits it back for change, who then makes a change and sends it back. If those slides are approved in the library and that front end salesperson can just grab them and go, you just alleviated huge amount. US Bank said creating presentations went from 5 hours to 5 minutes. That's huge. They have several thousand people using it. Those are thousands of hours reclaimed. For one 40-hour work week with one new presentation a week, that's 5 hours. That's 12% of your work week. Imagine looking at your payroll and getting 12% of that back in time. You don't get the cash back. Just think the salesperson can make 2 more meetings. I don't know. Yep. That's big money. The internal rate of return makes a difference. And now people are speaking on message. Here's another home run on it. There are events in your company where you hire people to make a high-end presentation for the CEO who's going to speak at a keynote. And you get a speech coach to help that person out, and they tell them what to say and how to say, and the inflection of what's going on. All of those notes and words can be put into the speaker notes and the parts of the slide. And by the time that person gives the keynote, that presentation can be distributed out to the whole sales group, and the people in the audience can speak as intelligently as the CEO when the CEO gets out the door. If they do a big announcement and the people in the field know about it, they can speak intelligently and maybe close the deal right when the announcement comes out, when the sizzle's flowing. Because, not everything's sexy the next day.
I think about where you even kind of talked about the fonts and the colors and spending unnecessary time on that. And man, if I haven't taken, I feel like more time sometimes to do the actual presentation itself than figure out what background I want, what theme are we going with, what do I want this slide to look. And sometimes I think about that stuff on the back end, like, wow, I spend more time like trying to make this visually appealing than actually inserting the information. And I think about if all that stuff could be automated or just already done, or like you said, approved and ready for you to pull from.
I got to tell you, your company is paying good money to real artists in the marketing department to make that stuff look beautiful.
Yeah.
And as it gets distributed, it gets all mauled and screwed up. And they're like, I like the pink logo from last year. Forget it. You can't stop it. But if it's already there and it's easy, people are lazy.
Yeah.
There's a reason we have fast food.
Absolutely. No, and even just to think about that, because like you said, something that I've kind of learned with the companies and the clients or things that people like that with certain type of information, it can't just say, hey, signed, sealed, delivered. It's out there like that. It has to go through, like you said, approval.
And legal, compliance.
Right. And then, legal, all that. And it's
the
just
logo police get in there. They'll shake you down.
Right. And that one change could take a 24-hour turnaround time. Whereas the presentation, if it's already stuff that you have ready to,
and think of how you ask other people. You knock on the, Susie's next door. She did a good presentation. Hey, you got that slide? I really could use it. In the back of your mind going, hurry up. I'm dying. I need it yesterday. You're like, anything you can do. Now she's taking her time to try helping you out. And like, yes, there's another home run that comes on the back end of this. And that is business intelligence. When you start knowing who said what to whom, in what order, what slides are getting the most play, most time is being used, maybe you should invest more money. And this slide was used 3,000 times, and on average, they spent 2.5 minutes. Maybe it needs an animation. Maybe we should consider the wording. Maybe that slide should be 3 and do a whole video on it because it'll say the message better. I don't know. But this now gives you business intelligence of what's going on. You can have a KPI dashboard on senior executives knowing what's going on, what people are actually using in sales meetings. Also, when you're at conferences, you can do 20 presentations in a row, turn around in the log at the end of the day and go, oh, that's right, tomorrow he's the guy talking about office space. We spent 8 minutes on that damn slide. Let me do my follow-up because it gave context. That's right. I was hungry. It was right before lunch, and the guy wouldn't shut up. But still, I'm going to follow up right. Let me send him a note. That and that makes a difference. It's real knowledge on a communication medium that has been overlooked. We scrutinize every communication medium. The web, every page, what you've looked at, whether you stayed, whether you scrolled. Did you look at the billboard? How many cars went by? Is the TV on? Is it off? Are you streaming? Every form of communication. But for some reason, we just ignore presentations. And arguably, they're at the moment of sale. They're when I'm belly to belly. It's a real deal. Or it's when you're training and trying to teach someone. HR and training is a big deal in presentations and being effective and having people walk away with the message as opposed to droning on another freaking bullet point. I get it. I've seen 64 in a row. Great. Entertain me. Cause my emotions to get up. See what's going on. Actually communicate. And this helps, does it? And by the way, once you have a library and you learn slides that can give a little humor or satire or fun or poke at it, you'll find everyone in your organization starts using that for fun and satire, and it picks up the energy because there's a common joke that you're allowed to say. In today's world, there's common jokes you're not allowed to say. But this gives the ability for you to put something out there. You know what I mean? That can work. I don't know. We're so damn tight ass nowadays. It doesn't work out that way. But that's not for me to say.
Somebody's always offended if they can be. You know that. But okay. So someone picking up your book, whatever range of experience they have when it comes to presentations, what will you say that by the time they put it down, what will their mindset be? What will have come across the forefront of the brain? What will have simplified for them? What aha moment will they have had? When will the light bulb have gone out? No matter
Well,
if they've given 1,000 presentations, if they've given one presentation.
two things. The first one is they will see an anecdote that is so relevant that it'll be a story they'll want to retell on their own, like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Two, they will understand a basic structure of telling a story, and it might actually affect how they, tell their little cousin the story of going to the beach last week. The idea of, well, we talk about some details of structuring a story and getting it in there, but the basic idea that I said it earlier in here, start with an emotional sale, start with emotional, a meme, and then follow up with the information to help them convince themselves that their original meaning is what they wanted. They would go to a little cousin and say, don't you want a big chunk of chocolate? And the kid will go, yeah. And you say, those socks, we pick them up and we make the bed and we do this and we got that. And, this chocolate cake is going to be right there at noon. That's a structure for selling a kid on cleaning her room. I kind of just made that up, but you see what I'm saying? Right. That basic understanding of what you're saying and how you tell stories will make you a better storyteller. So those are the two things. You'll see anecdotes you understand, and you'll become a better storyteller.
Okay. I love it. So now,
hence the name, from painful presentations to better stories.
I like that. From painful presentations.
That's right.
Boring, not, lackadaisical, painful. Sometimes,
even if you're in the audience, it could be just as bad.
It's bad for you, right?
Yeah. Why destroy your audience? Why do you have to be that mean to the people listening to you?
Right. I think about, we talked a lot about evolution. We talked a lot about from the chat GPT to just technology, to the film cameras, to how things were made, to $1 actually getting us a sandwich, to nowadays nada. So what does that look like for presentation hell? What does that look like for what you have going from a podcast perspective, from a book perspective, from a Shufflrr perspective, for everything that you're pretty much thinking about, everything that you're doing, even for what you can disclose, of course. But obviously, there's going to become a time where or I feel like the time may even be now for you guys. You guys are always staying up to date with the times, whether it be updating the slides, whether it be making sure that information is relevant, seeing what type of new and improved technology is out there for you to try out and implement in your software. So in just thinking about, this year, April, moving through, book is out, everything of the sort. What's next on the docket for Shufflrr and what you guys are trying to do?
Well, we're integrating the AI chat GPT into PowerPoint and our system. Basically, we have a plugin that gives this entire structured storytelling into PowerPoint and turns PowerPoint into an enterprise piece of software where you can quickly look at your library and bring it in and pull slides from it while you're making it. But more importantly, we brought ChatGPT on top of it. So if you have a presentation to make, you can start with your request and it'll spit out the 20 slides, the 15 slides. You can add pictures, you can add video to it, and it will get you a whole storyline, a storyboard for your presentation. You're out the door even at the beginning. So the ability to integrate the extra technology while giving the full strategy on a global back end, that's just one of the things coming out right now.
Okay, I love that. And I think that's something for people to look forward to, especially people who are well immersed. And I'm talking to a lot of y'all out there because I know a lot of my followers, a lot of the audience, y'all are all things tech and article this and reading this and trying to stay up to date in the chat GPT and everything. So, okay, I love to see that. Now,
So
Before
we
we,
are Chat GPT for PowerPoint. That's what you can write down. Shufflrr Chat GPT for PowerPoint.
all right, now that's going to change the game for it. Depending on who's hearing this, at what stage in your life you're hearing this, that could really change the game. You might not even end the week the same way you started the week. Now people
No,
don't know.
I'm ready for that. That's you're hitting me at the right time. By the way, it's coming out right now. The alpha version is released right now to select people, and if you
Amazing.
search for it, you'd find it. I assure you.
All right. So hopefully, hopefully they do their due diligence and make that happen. So before we get into all things about how people can find you, locate the book, everything like that, keep up with the content and everything you have going on the Shufflrr side of things, do you feel like there's anything we haven't touched on today that you want to leave for the people, whether it be any last words, any advice for people, even talking to those, who may be the best public speakers in the world versus those who may be timid when it comes to public speaking, or anything you feel like, from a Shufflrr perspective, from a presentation hell perspective, even from a storytelling perspective that we haven't tapped in with today that you just want to leave the people with?
Well, telling stories is connecting with human beings. It's been done through the ages. We used to treasure sitting and listening to our grandparents and giving knowledge and wisdom through the ages that way. I think I can speak about nuts and bolts of this type of stuff, but my real issue is presentations, and the ability to tell a story is so much more important to life than anyone even gives it consideration. And the better storyteller you are, the higher you're going to go in your career. I guarantee that.
He said he guarantees, y'all. So look, I would take it into account. Something. This is not things that can happen, overnight. You're not just going to wake up and just magically, lose all that fear and just it just happens for you. You're not just going to wake up and
Well,
just start a
well,
podcast.
great storytellers don't just go over there. Martin Luther King didn't just write his speech, I Have a Dream. He had been touring the country preaching in all sorts of the gospel, in any place that would have him. And it was through repetition and understanding. He used the same technique I'm talking about right here. He painted a picture and you sold in emotionally, and then he gave the facts and followed up with it. I have a dream. I've got a dream. I'm with you. Look at what's happening. And then he laid it out.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is you grow and you connect better through better storytelling. And whether I use the example, it could be your 5-year-old cousin or your great grandma or a friend you just met. Some of the most exciting stuff is sitting around and hearing someone tell a story. Think about it. The best actors are telling stories. The best movies are the best stories that were ever told. The best stories, think about it. Who are some of the most famous people that ever walked on the planet? Shakespeare, he told a hell of a story,
Yeah.
right? Think of the people who told stories, the people in books up and down the line. The greatest authors are whether it's, or Melville or, I can name some authors, but in any case, do you see what I'm saying? How special it is to the human existence to be able to articulate and get the message across where someone feels and is moved. Presentations have that power. And Shufflrr is all things presentations. I'll go right to the commercial area. It's presentation management. It's enterprise software for presentations. And our new Chat GPT plugin makes it so much easier.
All right. Y'all heard it here. I think that everybody can definitely take something from this. I took a lot from it just as someone who is very comfortable with public speaking. I am now going to focus on more so how I'm storytelling things. Wording is everything, and even how you appeal to that emotion, how I start things versus how I end, and then my cycle of things. So no, I appreciate that a lot, James. One, just for the time, two, just for the insight, but three, just for everything that you're doing out there to simplify things for people. Because like I said, you're really making it so that, and you even said it yourself when and kind of explaining about the book, that when you've been through so much, when you've gone through so much, when you failed, when you've succeeded, why not pass that information along? Why not share those experiences? Why not give you an anecdote so powerful that you're going to want to tell it to somebody immediately? So I love every single bit of that. Now, before we officially close out, the people need to know, where can they find you, website, best places to connect with you, best places to find out more about Shufflrr, the book. Give us everything you got.
Couple places, shufflrr.com, Shufflrr, 2 R's, 2 F's, shufflrr.com. You can see the book Presentation Hell is available on Amazon. The Kindle right now is discounted for 99 cents, so you can download it in the first 2 weeks. If this drops by April 11th, that's the day it actually drops, and you can get it there. Any one of those places, come and find us. Download the plugin. It's free. You'll be able to use it and manage it. You'll be able to use up to 4 people for free on Shufflrr. So you're on the same library and sharing around. You open up PowerPoint. There's the presentations you made, I made, little all set up. Makes it easy to copy and paste without opening 5 different versions.
Amazing. Look,
The
man.
last thing I'd like to say is we're here in Tampa, Florida from Embark Collective. It's a great hub to be in, and the technology fertile environment for making a business is right here in Tampa. It's a good place to be.
I second that wholeheartedly, 100%. No, I definitely do speak. I can speak to Embark just in speaking to some of the individuals who have come over from Embark or who have done things at Embark. I know that they are offering, and even just from the inside, from what I've seen, like they are offering definitely a lot for creatives.
Cutting edge stuff is happening over here. The world will know about it in time to come, and to be accepted into Embark in a couple of years will be like a golden ticket. It'll be like getting into Harvard.
Come on now, you heard it here first. So, James, once again, thank you so much. Thank you, just for the
Take
time.
care, Tamara. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. And to everybody out there, who continuously taps in with us, tap in. Even if you're not, well along your storytelling career, you can take something from the book. You can learn something about how you present it. Because like James said, it's not necessarily hearing that you have to give a presentation when you realize this is a presentation. Presentations are all around us in stores, in churches, in museums, and wherever you are. So just, one, open up your mind, open up your perspective a little bit. But
every
2,
Facebook reel is a short presentation. Every TikTok is a short presentation. Every Instagram post is a short presentation.
Absolutely. And we're on social media all the time. Y'all going to find us.
We're addicts.
So come on. All right. So to everybody out there, we thank you. We appreciate you. This has been another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner.